Hello guys, I know I'm back after I just ended another one, but this is gonna be one of my final videos for the summer, and it's gonna be a meme one. Because it's what if Palpatine accidentally executed Order 67. Don't know what it's gonna, or don't know what it's gonna be like, but knowing what Order 67 is, this video might get me laughing. I should rename this to Try Not to Laugh on Star Wars What if it's what I think it is.
Hello. Our story begins inside of Palpatine's office. Mace Windu was just flung outside the window, and Palpatine could finally begin his plan to eradicate the Jedi from the galaxy. It would be the darkest day that ever beset the Jedi Order and the galaxy itself, perfectly curated to Sidious's sick and twisted mind. He wouldn't have to do anything but execute one order, and say goodbye to every Jedi across the galaxy. If a couple survived, that would be fine, but the point was to kill the council members and say goodbye to their religion. Anakin Skywalker, now Lord Vader, was instructed to go to the Jedi Temple and wipe them out. Afterwards, he needed to go to the planet of Mustafar to ensure the Separatist leaders were killed. It'd all be done, and Vader stormed off. It would be the perfect way to ensure his wife didn't die in childbirth. Anakin left the room and Palpatine prepared for his epic plan to come to fruition. The moment the doors closed, he sat down and prepared his edgy voice to sound as menacing as possible. He grabbed a list of clone commanders from across the galaxy and looked through it. He had to pick the ones closest to Anakin first, Commander Rex and Commander Cody. They would have to be the first ones to make sure Kenobi and Ahsoka died. If he could ensure their deaths, then there'd be no reason for fear of Skywalker returning to the light. Sidious had to clear his throat first. It was a bit of a tantalizing thing for him to do. He just electrocuted himself into a fried Oreo. You'd expect his lungs to be ready to run a marathon. No, not at all. He cleared his throat and realized it wasn't enough. He scooted away from his desk and grabbed a little glass of water and chugged it like he was trying to show off for the boys. Before he made his way back to the desk, Palpatine grabbed a list of executive orders. He had to make sure he got this right. He didn't want to use the wrong one, so he went through the list. Ah yes, Order 4. If the Chancellor is incapacitated, the Grand Army of the Republic falls into the command of the Vice Chair of the Senate. No one wanted that. It started with 6, right? Order 5 was if the Chancellor was unfit to issue orders, then a coalition of blah 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 who really gives a crap. Whatever, how about Order 37? Aha! Oh my goodness. Not even Palpatine wanted to do that. To capture a single individual, they could mass arrest and threaten the execution of an entire civilized population. No, that's not a good way to keep popularity in the Senate. How about Order 65? Oh, okay. So the Security Council could have him removed from power. What a dumb idea. Ah, okay. Order 66. All the clones, when issued Order 66, would begin to dance. That's a little odd. Why would the Kaminoans do that? Palpatine thought in his head, that was a little ridiculous. Kind of funny, but like, why? Anyways, the one he wanted, Order 67. The execution of all Jedi officers for treason against the Republic. This would do the job. After heaving up a couple dry coughs, Palpatine prepared himself to reduce the Jedi to dust. He called out to Commander Rex and issued out Order 67. The call ended and Sidious stood pridefully. This would be the greatest achievement ever made by a Sith Lord. Inside of the Venator, Rex looked down at the control panel. He heard Ahsoka ask him what was wrong. He stood silently for a minute and tip-tapped on the control panel in front of him. Rex stumbled over his words and told himself to find Fives. He said the name Fives a couple times and a tear slid down his cheek. That is until he hit the right button. He had to find Fives because no one could dance like that boy could. Of course Fives had a favorite song, and it wasn't just any song. That boy loved himself some Gaga. And when I say Gaga, I mean some poker face. Ahsoka stumbled forward until the entire ship filled with the echoes of Ahsoka was confused until Rex flipped around like a man possessed. Oh no, it couldn't be true. Because she certainly couldn't read his. No, she couldn't read his poker face. She thought it was a nightmare, but the nightmare only began when Jesse and the boys at the Final First and the Coruscant Guard came moving in such an effort that even Ahsoka couldn't stop herself from joining in. Cause she's got him like nobody. Oh ma ma ma. On Coruscant, the fun was just beginning. The next target for this excruciating tactic was Utapau and Commander Cody. Everything was going so right. Obi-Wan had his lightsaber, and they were moving for higher levels. Palpatine came over the communication. Cody had a thought. Who is this deflated pumpkin? Didn't matter. 2 seconds later, Order 67 came over the communication. But the 212th didn't just subscribe to Gaga, oh boy. They had someone else. It was American authors, and it wasn't just the best day of my life. It was a Gazo remix. Cody couldn't stop once it started because once the song came on, it played inside of all their helmets. But not just there, the ATTEs and the LAATs had speakers hidden within them, all sponsored by Bose, and the sounds of glory played out of their speakers. The entire battlefield erupted. The worst part is, Palpatine didn't realize the power of music is that it's extremely amazing. Not just this music, but music.
No.
And it didn't just stop bringing clones into a dancing frenzy, oh no. It brought the droids into the fray. One would think that droids can't dance, but if you saw a B2 hit the whoa, then you wouldn't know. Oh my god! Obi-Wan was confused until this mofo got a whiff of that oh-so-good bass drop. With the music being pumped out of the speakers sponsored by Bose, he couldn't stop his own movements. He was the swaggiest guy on the battlefront anyways, but once the music started, he and the Paw-Uns got into the groove of a lifetime. Palpatine could feel his glory. Ahaha! Ahsoka and Obi-Wan dead. Time to kill off the council members. Next to Kid and Nemodia, clone pilot Jag got Order 67, and he went with something a little bit more classy, with some Billy Idol. The music blasted out of their ARC 170s, and this guy was so cool that he rolled down the window and started bouncing his ship like it was a lowrider. No, it didn't stop there. Once you bounce your starfighter like a lit lowrider, then you gotta get the boys in on the fun. Plus,
Yeah,
who wants to
you
dance
do.
by themselves when everyone can dance by themselves? Or the London town of Go-Go, you gotta dance with yourself. Jag sped his fighter up, and the three clones leaned out the starfighter waving up low. He looked over and then took a double take. What the hell? He had to open his window, and then when he heard it, oh, this boy came prepared. Flipping the switch on his speeder, he lit up the entire under half of the ship in LED lights, and this guy, with the skills of a true pilot, ripped his ship upside down and bopped that hunk of junk like a lowrider on the juice. The chaos continues all the way over on Megiddo with Kiadimundi and his band of Chaos Bringers. Commander Bakura got a call from old Palpy Boy, and all was fine until Order 67 came out of his crusty, dusty mouth. See, the Galactic Marines were a special breed. They weren't just hype beasts, they had their song. Oh yeah, they had their song alright. It started with a cutesy little synthesizer. The moment the boys heard the first lyric, they all started singing it. I threw a wish in a well, don't ask me, I'll never tell. I looked at you as it fell, and now you're in my way. Mundy was on a heavy push. He couldn't hear the sound of the glorious song over that fat freaking cone head, but he kept running until the collective group of clone troopers yelled at him.
Yeah.
Hey, I just met you. And Mundy replied. A B1 from across the battlefield yelled out. And you wouldn't believe it, but your boy Bakura and the Crown Eater himself yelled out. It didn't just stop there, because when you start listening to Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen, you better jump in. This unlocked the greatest dance sequence the galaxy had ever seen. They had to be careful, because under the footing of their epic dance battle, shouting the lyrics back to each other, they almost lost the platform. But it's hard to look right at your baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Palpatine was ecstatic. A great presence lunged across the galaxy, and he continued. The boys on Felucia got their call, and each of their steps were taken in stride. Oh yeah, what song could that be? Because it goes hard AF. What could it be? It came off the album Starboy. Bly and the boys stepped out in the field, in front of the Seppies, saying, the feeling I'm going through. Who the hell? Ayla watched the men move forward till the heavy tanks dropped their speakers, sponsored by Sony. Bly led the group. See it in your eyes.
You hate that you want me, hate it when you cry.
You're scared to be lonely, especially in the night. Wait, no, it can't be. Oh yes, it can be. Bly reached out his hands towards the clank of friends, telling them just know that I would die for you. The weekend came in clutch like no one else, and the droid started forward, coming out singing the lyrics. But baby girl, I'm not blaming you. Just don't blame me too. Yeah, they knew it was up. Both armies converging.
I think I'm right for you.
They knew it was good. This dance was a true dance, classical in nature, remarkable, and the feet pulled off. Bly and the super tactical droid locked their elbows and used them to move each other around slowly until the tactical droid was with the clones and Bly with the droids. Their dance continued in epic proportions. On Kalar, the Bad Batch was, well, they got themselves a special song. While there were no droids to share in this, Clone Force 99 had to show why they were a special clone boy unit. These guys had to do a little dirty talk, little dirty dance. Yeah, that's right. Deppa and Caleb had themselves a bunch of clones, and the one and only Mr. Worldwide. Hunter hit them with the and Tech hit him with the I worked my ass off, but I still can't pay it though. And then, you wouldn't believe it, but Crosshair with them with the As Wrecker said, have me a good time before my time is up. Echo over here hit the falsetto with that. See, with the Bad Batch, it couldn't be like the other clones. Tech whipped out the synth, and Crosshair hit the moves that would part the seas of a dance club. The clones, a part of Depa Squad, turned around, and the hype train began. Get those boys going. Hunter went off. Tonight I'm gonna lose my mind. Better get you. One might wonder what was happening on Coruscant. Well, the 501st had themselves a classic, but an oh-so-good one. This song was meant for them, and the Jedi, because no one just gets KC and the Sunshine Band. The boys in blue had the order given before they left the barracks, so they marched all the way to the temple with this banger on repeat. Because they didn't just dance themselves to the temple, they gathered a group of people to join the fun. Oh yes,
no.
Everyone wants you, everyone wants your love. Because when you're on the streets of Coruscant, oh yes. Because when they hit the streets of Coruscant, it erupted in the... When they ascended the steps of the temple, there was nothing but joy of clones rising to join their homies inside the temple. One would be surprised to see Master Syndralic breaking out the 80s square dance pad. Him and his temple guards were ready for this dance-off of the millennia. Skywalker, Oppo, and a couple of his top Gs moved in for the dance-off. That kid Annie G could move, but he wasn't a master, cause Rad Drag could hit moves unlike any gnarly guard around. His square dance moves were unstoppable. That's until the one and only Boogie T made her entrance. She was like anyone else, cause Shaki T could boogie and cut a rug like anybody else. As everyone looks and stares, Boogie T changed the game, cause you can't just have an 80s dance-off without the king. Oh yeah, we're talking about the one and only king. The Funky Bunch pulled out the best album of all time. Everyone, anywhere, may have had the time of their life, but the Jedi Temple was a place to be for the coolest cats from Tatooine to the Galactic Core. They brought it, and then silence filled the air. A couple rattling noises could be heard, and fog machines rolled out. You could hear the footsteps but not see anything. A tingle of that oh-so-familiar synth rhymes with the sounds of wolves crying in the background before the lights kicked on, and Boogie T was surrounded by an enclave of the best dancers the galaxy had ever seen. It was close to midnight, and something evil's looking in the dark. Oh yeah, that familiar soft and groovy voice called out the commands of these timeless lyrics. It was cool until it couldn't be topped to the ring of that, cause it's Thriller Night. Shakti and her guys and gals were the unmatched group in the galaxy. It had Sky Guy and the boys in blue ashamed that they dared challenge the dance master of the temple. Rad Drag was nothing compared to Boogie T. While Palpatine thought his plans were going successfully, he heard something. He didn't know what it was. How could he? He wasn't hip to a legend in the making.
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man! She was the era. It was a drum hi-hat along with a nice horn, and it started with, I stay out too late, got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. Oh my force. Commander Fox bursted into the scene and Palpatine couldn't stop himself from moving. It wasn't just any singer, it was Tay-Tay herself. Taylor Swift had some of that shake it off. Not even the most vile and evil man in the galaxy could resist its magnificent pull. It's like the dark side vanished under a glowing light, cause Palpy Boy, he started and he couldn't stop. It was contagious. It was magnificent. It was the end of everything. Who knew the Kaminoans programmed some of the best music the galaxy had ever seen into the clones? Fox got up in front of the Chancellor and you should have seen it. That boy went off saying,
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where
X-Man brought his new girlfriend. She's like, oh my god.
and as he pointed to Palpatine and to the fella over there with the hella good hair,
Won't you come on over, baby? We can shake, shake, shake.
how could you resist? It was the most epic entrance anyone ever made, and it was pulled off by its magnetic flame. It was 1989, baby, and it was time to get down, down, down. You wouldn't believe it, but the boys in red transported them to the Senate building. The entire Senate erupted in Taylor Swift, because they had to shake it off. With the separatist government on the phone, they had to shake it off too. They had to shake it off. Palpatine couldn't even resist. Once he heard the legendary tales of these magnificent dancers around the galaxy, he couldn't do it anymore. The Sith, the Jedi, it didn't matter. How could it? The war was for nothing. He didn't want it anymore. They had to come together and make it right. They had to undo what they had done. Before Palpatine was finished making things right, he and his new pal, his new best friend, had just shown up, fresh off from the dance on Kashyyyk that consisted of K-pop legends like Psy and Kim Hyuna. Palpy wasn't even ready, but he got himself prepared for the ultimate growth in friendship. Yoda flipped a switch and he dropped his cane. He stopped. Before Yoda could say the words, Palpy said, "Smooth like butter." Yoda responded, a rhythm similar to Another One Bites the Dust rolled in, and the two former adversaries got into a heated dance-off, reciting the words of butter to each other. As the rhythm picked up, they moved around in a circle. The Coruscant Guard, Senate Guard, Royal Guard rolled in with the hype train, and the hype was unlike anything any of them ever seen. With the execution of Order 67, the galaxy was able to find itself again. Sure, it may have been a Kaminoan switching up the orders by accident on the pamphlet, but what harm could it do when it only brought happiness to the galaxy? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our story. Again, special thanks to Galvin Gaming, Tristan.
I know you want to hear more, but this is gonna be the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I sure did. Couldn't stop from laughing several points. I'm sure you heard it. If you enjoyed, subscribe, like, all that good jazz, and I'll see you again.